Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Hard Count podcast. And today we're going to be going over my Week 11 NFL Power Rankings. We just finished up a very exciting Week 10 of NFL football. We got some things shaking up in the Power Rankings, especially at the top. Real quick, though, before we get into it, I just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. But let's go right into the video. All right, my 32nd team. No question about it, the New York Jets. They've been here since week 1 of the NFL season. They're awful. They couldn't lose this week. That's a good thing for them. I mean, that's the best they've done all season. They didn't add a loss to their total. I mean, I guess maybe that might not be such a good thing because they kind of want to lose. They're looking for Trevor Lawrence. We all know that. That's what they need. I think that might be kind of the reset they need. I don't want to see Trevor Lawrence go here. I think I would rather see him go somewhere else, but I think that's where he's going to end up going. But Revolutionary College prospect, he is going to go to the Jets. At number 31, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars staying at number 31. Again, a lot of these bottom teams aren't going to move too much. We already know how bad they are, and they did nothing to help prove themselves this week. But, I mean, the Jaguars put up a decent fight. I mean, there was a second there I thought they might beat the Packers, but they just couldn't pull through at the end. I think the Packers were, maybe overlooked the Jaguars just a little bit. But, it's just not a good team. I mean, Jake Luton is a little better than I was expecting, but still, just not enough talent on that offense. They're not able to get things going too much, and their defense is just really, really struggling. Even though it didn't play too bad against the Packers, they actually had some good stops, made some decent plays, were able to contain Aaron Rodgers in that offense pretty well. Just for the whole season, like if you take the entirety of the season, it's a bad defense. So Jaguars stay here at 31, not too impressed with them. I think they should end up taking the quarterback of their future in the draft this year. At number 30, we have the Dallas Cowboys staying at number 30. They also did not play this week, which again, that's a good thing for them. They've been losing quite a bit lately. They're going to match up with the Vikings this week. I expect another loss there. They're just not a good team. I mean, they've been the biggest surprise of the season. Honestly, if you asked me, out of all the teams, who's been the biggest surprise, it's been a bad one, and it's been the Cowboys. I had them as one of the best teams. I had them as Super Bowl contenders going into the year, and look where they're at. They're here at number 30. Their defense is just falling apart. It's one of the worst in the NFL. Their secondary is terrible. Their offense just isn't what... Like, we're seeing the value of Dak. And yes, this team wasn't great with Dak, but it was able to get things going. It was one of the better passing offenses in the NFL. Then you get all these other guys. You just can't get anything going. So, yeah, the Cowboys just stink. They will be fine next year. They're going to bounce back. They're going to get Dak back. They're going to get some of their offensive line back. I think in the draft, we're probably going to see them take some well-rounded prospects. I said this like last week. I said Micah Parsons, one of those top guys, maybe Penei Sewell at the top that are well-rounded, good prospects. And so, yeah, I think the Cowboys, they'll be fine next year. This year just isn't their year. At number 29, we have the Denver Broncos dropping down 2 spots here, and just ugly performances from the Broncos. Didn't put up a fight at all against the Raiders. And the Raiders, they're good this year. But the Broncos, they've been super disappointing. I was expecting this team to be a team where they win games like that. They win games like the Falcons game. But they just haven't done that. We're getting news about Drew Lock being injured as well, which is not good. The Broncos have just fallen apart. And yes, they're injured, but I don't think the injuries make up for it completely. And Drew Lock hasn't played great. The defense has just been letting up way too many points. The secondary has really been struggling recently. So the Broncos have been very disappointing to me. I mean, I had them as a playoff team going into the year. I had them as a team going 9-7, 10-6, and they're not at all that. So they've been very disappointing. They dropped down 2 spots here after being embarrassed by the Las Vegas Raiders. At number 28, we have the Washington football team moving up 1 spot here. And, I mean, it's the Washington football team. There's not too much to say. Alex Smith has looked a little bit better, but they're not great. They're not contenders. I mean, honestly, it's crazy that they could still win their division, but, they did climb back in that Lions game. I will give them some credit, but I think that was had as much to do with the Lions just blowing it, their defense just falling apart at the end with Matt Patricia. They're the choking team, and I think the Washington football team took advantage of that. I've said this in recent videos. I think they're a team that's going to continue to get better. I like the culture they've built there. They just don't have it all right there. They're going to maybe take their quarterback of their future in the draft, take a I think that's what they should do, because none of the guys they have right now are the answer. They need that revolutionary guy there, the guy that Ron Rivera can take as his guy for years to come. But Washington, they're not competitive this year. They could maybe win their division. I don't think that's likely, but they're here at number 28. At number 27, we have the Philadelphia Eagles dropping down 8 spots. They're the biggest droppers of the week. It was ugly in that game against the Giants. They were completely outmatched. They couldn't get anything going. Wentz has looked bad. The offensive line can't stop anyone. Peterson's play calling has been terrible. The defense has really struggled. This was a team that I had in the Super Bowl going into the start of the year. And yes, injuries have derailed them, but Carson Wentz has gotten much worse. I think that this blame on Carson Wentz is a little much. I mean, he's definitely been much more inconsistent, much more mistake prone this year. And I'm not going to give him a pass for that, but people are calling him out like he's the worst quarterback in the NFL. He's not that. But, he's fine. The Eagles offense relies on him making a ton of plays, and he does a decent job. He does a respectable job. Obviously, the turnovers don't help. But Wentz, that offensive line cannot guard him. He was under pressure all game against his Giants defense, which I think is good, but not great. And the defense just couldn't stop Daniel Jones in that offense. I've been very, very disappointed with everything I've seen. Peterson has really struggled. I liked him going into the year. I liked what I saw last year in terms of his play calling, but just everything's fallen apart for the Eagles, and it stinks to see them all the way down here because, they could make it in the playoffs, but I just don't think they could do anything. At number 26, we have the New York Giants, who just beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They looked like the clear better teams I talked about. Their defense, I'm buying into it completely. Joe Judge has done a fantastic job. He's their coach of the future. I talked about this last week. He's the guy that they're going to move forward with. I mean, they're not going to be that team stuck between coaches. And, I think the Giants, they're putting themselves out of contention for one of those top quarterbacks. But Daniel Jones is fine. He has played well. He's done a good job. And if he keeps playing like this, I don't think there's too much of a need to replace him. If he keeps playing like this, he's not generational. But if you can't take one of those top guys, there's no reason to force the agenda. You can take another guy like an offensive lineman or a guy to help Daniel Jones out, a guy on that defense that's been playing very well. Just add some more talent to this team. That's okay. And they realize they still have a shot at the playoffs. They just beat the Eagles. They're half a game back in the division, so they can make the playoffs. I'm not giving up on the Giants just yet. I think they're a good team. Daniel Jones, I'm not giving up on him. And I like what I've seen. They just showed they were the better team than the Eagles, and that's why I'm putting them here at number 26. At number 25, we have the Detroit Lions. They've let me down again. I mean, they looked good for the first 3 quarters of that Washington game, but that last quarter was just awful. They're the choke artists, them, the Falcons, the Chargers. That's the choke trio right there. But the Lions, they've been disappointing. I had them as a playoff team or a sleeper playoff team going into the year. I said a couple weeks ago they were going to be a playoff team. They've fallen off a cliff. They just have not looked like the team that I was hoping. Their defense has really, really struggled to come up in big moments. Their secondary has really had a difficult time stopping anyone. I mean, Terry McLaurin had his way. Alex Smith was able to find guys all day, and their rushing game couldn't do anything either. So, I think Matt Patricia should be gone soon. He has not done a great job at all with this Lions team. Matt Stafford has not been as good as last year. So this Lions team, I'm bailing on them. They're here at number 25. At number 24, we have the San Francisco 49ers moving up 1 spot here. And they, in a way, did let me down against the Saints. I know a lot of these teams are letting me down, but that's why they're down here. But, I expected them to come out a little bit better, keep the game a little closer than they actually did. I mean, they did break out from the start, but eventually the Saints caught up to them. The lack of talent of the 49ers caught up to them. And I've said this, it's not their fault. Injuries happen, but, this is a list of how good you actually are. And when you don't have your best players, you're not actually that good. So the 49ers are at 24, move up 1 spot, but that's mostly as a result of the Eagles dropping down so far. At number 23, we have the Houston Texans dropping down 1 spot here. Now, what a weird game against the Browns. You know, I mean, if you asked me the score of the Texans-Browns game was, I would be guessing somewhere up 32-28, but it was 10-7. That was very strange. Not something you'd expect to see. I mean, you know, the defense played pretty well for the Texans, which is good, but when are you going to put both on the field? When are you going to have the defense play well and the offense play well? I mean, Deshaun Watson is a stud quarterback. Just the coaching right now, not what they need. They're looking towards next season. The coaching, as I said, not what they need. The defense, not what they need. And they just need a little more talent on that offense. Letting go of DeAndre Hopkins is proving to really hurt them. At number 22, we have the Cincinnati Bengals moving down 2 spots here. And, you know, the Bengals, they let me down. I actually picked them to upset the Steelers. Obviously, that's looking like a very dumb pick at this point because, you know, I thought that, you know, they would be able to stay in that game a little bit better. The front seven, maybe Joe Burrow's adjusted a little bit more, and I didn't think the Steelers' front seven would be able to impact them quite as much as the Ravens did, but they did just that. They impacted Joe Burrow. They ran over this offensive line, and that's what I'm concerned about with Joe Burrow. I mean, you know, is he going to get the help he needs? I think that Joe Burrow is the kind of guy that will overcome these things. He's a guy that's going to change this franchise, which is very good. That's what the Bengals needed. They're looking forward to the draft this year. They need to draft someone on the offensive line, just someone to help Joe Burrow out because, you know, he's got the weapons right now. Just the organization right now is not what they need. Zach Taylor is not the guy at coach. Joe Burrow is a franchise quarterback, though. That's great to see. Bengals, they're not competitors this year, but definitely a team to look out for the future. What are they going to do in the draft? We'll see. At number 21, we have the Chicago Bears. They actually have a winning record, and they're here at number 21. I can't believe this team was 5-1. That quite possibly could have been the worst 5-1 team ever. Nick Foles went down. I mean, obviously, we saw earlier today that it wasn't as bad as a lot of us thought, which is great news. I'm glad to see that he is okay day to day. That's good. Good news for the Bears, too. I mean, some people are calling out for Mitch Trubisky to be in there. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. I think the offense is still going to be lackluster. It's still going to hold this team back. The defense is good. I don't think it's a special defense or anything. I think they get pressure. They do a decent job in coverage, but nothing special on the defensive end. I like this receiving core. I think the offensive line is decent. The quarterback play, it shows you how important the quarterback position is in the NFL. I mean, if we look at a lot of the top teams that we're going to be getting to later, notice a trend. Those guys, those teams have the best quarterbacks, and the Bears, you really struggle to find success without a good quarterback, and the Bears just don't have enough around the quarterback to compete. So they're here at number 21. They've been disappointing. Just kind of a fraudulent team. I think they're more of a 7-9, 6-10 team as I projected going into the year. At number 20, we have the Carolina Panthers moving up 3 spots. And how could they be moving up 3 spots here? I mean, they didn't play a good game. They lost to the Buccaneers. And I agree. I don't want to move them up. Look at the bigger picture. I had to drop the Bears down a little bit. I had to drop the Bengals. I had to drop the Eagles. So naturally, the Panthers move up. And what are you going to do? Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, good offensive line. When that gets hot, you can't stop it. This Panthers defense isn't equipped to stop an offense like that. And I don't think any team down here really is equipped to stop a team like that. So the Panthers, I'm not going to punish them too much. They were hanging around for a lot of that game until the Buccaneers really started breaking free. You know, I like Teddy Bridgewater. I think they got a really underrated offense. An offense is going to keep you in a lot of games. And a defense that, you know, it's solid. I think that it's not great, but Matt Rule's done a pretty good job. So this is a team I'm looking out for the future. I like Teddy Bridgewater. He's done enough. I just don't think this team, you know, I think that they have a ceiling. So I like them here at 20. A good team. I'm not going to punish them too much for losing to a pissed off Buccaneers team that just was rolling over. I think they would have rolled over most teams that week. So I like the Panthers at 20. At number 19, we have the Los Angeles Chargers dropping down 3 spots here. And the Chargers are one of the most confusing teams to me. They're 2-7. And the only teams that haven't lost a game by 1 possession or more are the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Chargers. They keep every game close. Well, I mean, that Dolphins game wasn't particularly close, but they're in most games. Justin Herbert does that. Passing the ball downfield, those big plays do that. Their defense blows it. Their coaching blows it. And the rest of Justin Herbert, he's going to be great. I talked about this with Joe Burrow. They just need to surround him with the right guys, the right coaches, and he'll be a franchise guy. I mean, he is a franchise guy. But it's just not there yet. I was expecting this defense to be one of the best in the NFL. Kenneth Murray has not played up to par. The secondary hasn't been as good as expected. They've had some injuries, I know. It's just been a disappointing season for the Chargers. 2-7, never what you want to see. Not a playoff team, obviously. But I still think that Justin Herbert, this big play offense, gives them enough to be up here at 19, not closer down to like 27, 28, where a lot of those 2-7 teams are finding themselves. All right, next we've got the New England Patriots, the biggest movers up of the week after a huge Sunday night football upset over the Baltimore Ravens. And wow, what a shocker. I mean, Bill Belichick pulled it out. I mean, that was exactly, the New England Patriots could not have asked for better weather, better conditions to go out and beat the Baltimore Ravens. That saved their season. I had the New England Patriots as the best bet. I knew that Bill Belichick was going to call a great game. And, you know, they slowed down this Ravens offense to an extent, and they ran the ball all over this Ravens defense. Yes, the Ravens were getting hurt, but the Patriots did a good job. They saved their season. They're 4-5. They're very much in playoff contention. It is a little rough, though, because the amount of, you got the Dolphins, you got the Ravens, you got the Browns, you got the Titans, you got the Colts, all teams around 6-3. It's going to be hard for the Patriots to catch up, but if there's anyone I have faith in, it is the Patriots to maybe sneak in there and get the 7th seed. Their season is not done just yet, so they move up 7 spots here. I liked some of what I've seen from this offense and Cam Newton. Defense really picked it up this past week. So, Patriots here at 18, a big win over the Baltimore Ravens. At number 17, we have the Atlanta Falcons moving up 4 spots here. And, there's not too much of a reason to move them up 4 spots other than the fact that a lot of teams had to move down, as I talked about. You had the Eagles, you had the Chargers, you had the Bears. And so as a result, the Falcons moved up. I think this Falcons team is not great, but, their offense is going to keep them in games. It's a big play, high-powered offense, similar to what I talked about with the Chargers. Those teams with the good offenses, even if they are defenses that are terrible, bad coaching, they're gonna be in a lot of games because the quarterback is good. They got some good weapons. So I like the Falcons. Their defense is not good. I think that they're about an average team. So I think 17 fits them pretty well. So they move up 4 spots. Now, getting our top half, I think we actually get a little bit of we got 2 merger teams here. We got the Browns at number 16, and then the team we'll talk about in a second. But the Browns, not the prettiest win, as we talked about, over the Titans, but they got it done. They're keeping themselves in the AFC playoff race. They're 6-3. I think that they're the worst 6-3 team in the NFL. I don't think that they're, going to be able to beat the better teams when it comes down to it. But they're hanging in there in the playoff race. Got to give them some credit for that. I don't know how much I trust Baker Mayfield in the long run. I don't think he's a very good quarterback, but we get to see them play the Eagles. Maybe they can move to 7-3. Actually, I'm going to predict them to go 7-3. That's big. 7-3, that's usually a team that's going to end up making the playoffs, but the AFC is so competitive this year. We will see. I like Kevin Stefanski, what he's done with this offense. They couldn't get much going, but I think that had it was just a game thing. That was what happened in the Texans-Browns game. It was kind of just the trend of the game. I'm not too concerned about it. I think this Browns offense is going to be able to do things in the long run, especially when they can get the ball moving on the ground. So if you got a team with a weak rushing defense, definitely look out. The Browns can take advantage of that. Baker can get comfortable. But I think the Browns, they're fine. They're an average team. They're here number 16. So, yeah. At number 15, and our second team that kind of bridges, I think, the bad teams and the good teams, it's the Minnesota Vikings. They don't move here. I think the Vikings are a very good team. We saw them play on Monday night against the Bears. They won that game. Kirk Cousins' first win on Monday Night Football, so congrats to him, but it shouldn't take you 10 attempts to win on Monday Night Football. But they beat the Bears. Their offense played better. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, the offense was able to get things going. The defense played well enough. I've liked what I've seen from this defense in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, part of that was how bad the Bears' offense is, but I like, they were able to stop the run pretty well. They were able to guard the receivers. And, the Vikings defense, it really struggled at the start of the year, but they've been pulling things together, and I've noticed that in the past couple weeks. I've liked what I've seen from the defense much more. And their offense, it's getting things going as well, especially on the ground. And, they got things going on the ground. It wasn't the main focal point of this offensive attack, and that was good to see. Something else besides Dalvin Cook. So then we know, if Dalvin Cook can't run for 250 yards, this team can still pull out a victory. So it was good to see that from the Vikings. I don't think they can move up too much. I wasn't super impressed by them, but they're here at number 15. At number 14, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is one of those, I think this is the first team that I'm looking at as somewhat competitive. I think this is maybe another bridge team. But, the Raiders, they're 6-3. And I think that they're a team that's definitely going to be competing for those wildcard spots in the AFC. Unfortunately, they get a matchup with the Chiefs this week, which you don't want to be matching up with the Chiefs when you're trying to get a win and keep yourself in playoff contention, because it's not looking like you're likely to get a win that week. But that's where they're at. I think that, then they play the Falcons. They can probably get a win there. And then they play the Jets. So, I think the Raiders are going to be a borderline playoff team. We'll see what they can do. I like this offense. Derek Carr has been playing some of his best football lately. I love what I've seen from Derek Carr. He's been making plays. He's been accurate, making plays out of the system as well. So I like Derek Carr quite a bit. And this offense, John Gruden has done a great job. But you never want to light a flame under the Kansas City Chiefs. And they just beat him last time. And apparently John Gruden took some victory lap around the stadium, which Andy Reid and the Chiefs are not happy about. So expect this team to be 6-4. So yeah. At number 13, we have the Tennessee Titans moving down 4 spots. And just a disappointing performance. I don't think that's what this team actually was on Thursday Night Football. I think I think it's a good team. Ryan Tannehill, this offense, it hasn't been too great the past few weeks, but they get the extra time to prepare. They get to play the Baltimore Ravens, and that's not necessarily a team you want to be playing if you're looking to get a bounce back. But the Ravens aren't as scary as they were at the start of the year. They can definitely get a win there. Derrick Henry, he could maybe run all over that Baltimore Ravens defense like we saw the Patriots do last week. We will see. But I still like Ryan Tannehill. I think he's borderline top 10 quarterback. He makes all the plays he needs to in the system. The offense is good. Defense, not so much. They're coached well. But, I don't think that Thursday night was completely reflective of how good this team actually is. I still think they're competitors in the AFC. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to be taking them as a wild card team. So yeah, the Titans are here at number 13. At number 12, we have the Indianapolis Colts moving up 1 spot here. And they just beat the team we just talked about. The Tennessee Titans, they played well. They bounced back after that Ravens game. Phillip Rivers played some great football. Nyheim Hines did a great job. I like the play calling quite a bit from Frank Reich in that game, even on short time to prepare. That was an impressive performance. I liked what I saw a lot from that team. The defense was doing what they need to do. They got a lot of guys that can move around, stop the run on the outside, and that was perfect for Tennessee. They did what they needed to do. They held the offense to only 17 points. They were able to put up a lot of points, and that's when the Colts are at their best, when they're able to slow down the other team, and when Phillip Rivers can play well and be accurate and get comfortable. And he was comfortable in that game against the Titans. So I think we're going to see, the Colts, I don't think they're a great team. I think they're going to beat some of the below average teams, because Phillip Rivers will be more comfortable in those games. I think they might struggle a little bit more against the top teams, like we saw with the Ravens. But, Colts are still a good team. I think, we're looking at the AFC playoff picture right now. I think competing for those wild cards, Browns, Colts, Raiders, Titans, Dolphins, Bills, Ravens. Who's going to grab them at 3 spots for a lot of teams? So we will see. I think the Colts are definitely in contention, though, especially if Phillip Rivers can pick things up. But that was an impressive performance on Thursday night. And yeah, next at number 11, we have the Seattle Seahawks dropping down 4 spots. Big disappointment against the Rams. Russell Wilson again turning the ball over 3 or more times. just ugly performances from Russell Wilson. And I still think Russell Wilson's the top quarterback in the NFL. I'd still probably have him at 2 or 3 in my quarterback rankings. But you can't turn the ball over like that. And I think, the defense, I think that comes, some of that is on the defense, because the defense allows so many points. Russell Wilson has to push an agenda. It's kind of like what I was talking about with Carson Wentz. Russell Wilson has to put up a lot of points. He has to score a lot. And so with big plays, he might make some irrational mistakes. So, Russell Wilson, that's why I'm dropping him down here, because without, Russell Wilson playing almost flawlessly, this team is going to really struggle to win games. And obviously, if there's one guy that I want to bet on to be flawless, it's Russell Wilson. But the defense is awful, and they can't really establish a running game, so they're completely reliant on Russell Wilson. And as I said, not a bad guy to rely on, but is that really going to win you a Super Bowl? I do think, here's what I will say. I think the Seahawks are more likely to win the Super Bowl than the next couple teams that I'm going to list. But if I'm just looking at purely how good these teams are, they're right here. And the reason I think they're more likely to win Super Bowl is because of Russell Wilson. Good quarterback play, being able to get those big plays always helps to win the Super Bowl. Those are usually teams that end up there. So I like the Seahawks. Just been disappointing these past couple weeks. And Russell Wilson, he can't hold up this entire team and this entire organization for much longer. At number 10, we have the Los Angeles Rams moving up 2 spots. And they just beat the team we just talked about, the Seattle Seahawks. Good performance there by the Rams. I was a little worried at the start of the year. We were seeing this offense get figured out, but they're doing it just enough in most games to get by. Jared Goff is, he's not good, but he doesn't need to be good. We were talking about it with the 49ers system. Nick Mullins doesn't need to be great because of Kyle Shanahan, and Jared Goff doesn't need to be great because Sean McVay does such a good job calling plays, and he essentially just wants Jared Goff to hit those in-system throws, and that's what Jared Goff does for the most part. If they can get their run game established, this is a solid offense, and the defense has been playing like a top 5 defense. So definitely been impressed by this Rams team. I think they deserve to be a top 10 team right now. They'd move up 2 spots. I was definitely impressed by them. So yeah, Rams at number 10. At number 9, we have the Miami Dolphins, and if you were to ask me the second surprise of the year, when I said that the Cowboys being so bad was the biggest surprise of the year, if you were to ask me the second biggest surprise, it would be the Miami Dolphins. And shout out to Inju Sports for saying that this was kind of his team that he was expecting to do well this year. Besides the Broncos, which, didn't work out. But Dolphins did work out. Look at them. They're number 9 on my list. They're beating teams. They're 3-0 with Tua Tagovailoa, and I don't think Tua's been playing fantastic. I think a lot of that has to do with, their defense playing really well. And, their offense has been doing pretty well as well. So, Tua's been good, and maybe that's what this team needed. The young quarterback, the new energy. And don't get me wrong, Ryan Fitzpatrick has been great, but Tua's brought a new energy to this team. Their defense has been playing better. Brian Flores has been doing a great job. The offense is playing much better. They're doing an awesome job. So I like the culture in Miami. I like Tua. I think it's only going to be better. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team quite yet, but Miami's looking great for the future, and so is Tua. So I like the Dolphins here at number 9. At number 8, we have the Arizona Cardinals moving up 3 spots here. Very impressive win and Hail Mary in that Bills game, which was one of the most entertaining games of the year. We got to see the Cardinals play what is likely going to be another entertaining game of the year type game with the Seahawks on Thursday night. Both teams that just play fantastic, good games. And so I've been impressed. Kyler Murray has been playing very, very well, doing a great job, making plays with his legs, making plays out of the system. That's what he does. I've liked what I've seen from him quite a bit. And this offense is great. The defense is what concerns me a little bit. It's not great. Teams are going to be able to move the ball at will. It's not terrible, but I think that's what we're separating these teams. We're taking a look at them as a whole. And I think the Cardinals defense right now holds them back a little bit from being a little bit higher on this list. At number 7, we have the Buffalo Bills moving up 1 spot here. They're moving up because, I think they outplayed the Arizona Cardinals in that game. The Cardinals, they came back in it, and the Bills, Josh Allen drove down the field and did that. You can't rely on a Hail Mary pass and coming back to win a game. I still think the Bills are a better team than the Cardinals. Josh Allen played great in that game for the most part, had a couple of turnovers, but that's going to happen. It's okay. I like this Bills offense a lot, but as I said with the Cardinals, the defense does struggle, especially, stopping the run. And even the pass defense has not been great this year. It's been kind of a surprise. I mean, if we got the Bills defense of last year combined with this Bills offense, we'd be looking at a top 3, top 2 type team right now. But unfortunately, the defense is not quite there. I still love what I'm seeing from Josh Allen, this Stephon Diggs. This whole offense right now has been playing very well. Unfortunate they didn't get the win there against the Cardinals. At number 6, we have the Green Bay Packers dropping down one spot here. They were lucky to get I shouldn't say lucky, but they got away with that Jaguars game with a win, and that's what matters the most. It wasn't a pretty performance, maybe overlooked them just a little bit. I mean, they play the Colts next week, so maybe they were looking ahead to that game, which is a little bit bigger. But, the Aaron Rodgers is great. This offense, Devontae Adams is good. I mean, not good, great. The offensive line is going to do well. They get Allen Lazard back, hopefully soon. So this offense will be fine. Defense, it's, Jair Alexander is always going to shut down that number one guy. I think this defense is better than teams below it. And, their weakness is stopping the run. And that's a concern because when you run into a team that runs the ball a lot, it could be an issue. But if we look at the teams in the NFC, how many of them are really going to be running the ball all game? You got the Buccaneers, you got the Seahawks, you got the Saints. Those are the main competitors in the NFC, and how many they're going to be running the ball a ton? Oh, you got the Cardinals. Yeah, they're not running teams. So I think this Packers team could end up going far into the playoffs just because their weakness isn't going to be exposed in the NFC. So I like the Packers though. Their offense has been great. Aaron Rodgers has been great. Defense, it's been solid in some areas, but not enough to have them any higher. At number 5, we have the Baltimore Ravens dropping down 3 spots here. This hurts me to say, but a rough performance against the New England Patriots. Just not what we were hoping to see on Sunday Night Football. And I don't think it was Lamar's fault. I mean, he had that turnover. He had a couple of bad plays, but he did a good job for the most part. He was getting done with the offense and needed him to get done. He made a lot of good plays outside of the system. The defense just couldn't stop the run, and that's why I'm not too concerned about this team, but I gotta drop them down because, it seemed a little bit fluky. I mean, the weather and all that, but I can't ignore it because that was not good. Not a good performance. They had a lot of guys go down. They could not stop the run. It was ugly. But, if we look on the bright side, they've been good in the rushing defense all year. Hopefully that cleans itself up, which I expect it to, especially as they get some guys back. But this offense, they really need to start pulling some new things out of their bag. We know Greg Roman, he's been not as good this year. I mean, he did a great job last year with this offense, but it's become a little gimmicky. We'll see. And that's one thing I pointed out in this offseason. Is it going to be a gimmicky offense? I mean, it's kind of looking like it might have been. I think they need to try some new things. Maybe put out all their wide receivers. I'd like to see them, really utilize Lamar Jackson's passing. He's been pretty good at it this year. When they drop back, let Lamar Jackson pass, pick up the pace of their offense more. It opens up the run, and they've been much better when they use the play action. I think they really should try to do that more. But their defense, I think it'll clean things up. I still think it's one of the best defenses in the NFL. Their pass defense is great. And I think that was just kind of an unusual circumstance against New England. I'm not going to knock them too much, but I'm definitely concerned. This is not the team of last year. The Ravens dropped down 3 spots and are at number 5. At number 4, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving up 2 spots here. This is one of the most confusing teams in the NFL to me because one week I'm thinking they're the best team in the NFL. The next I'm thinking they're like a borderline playoff team. And they just showed me a week where they're looking like one of the best teams in the NFL. Yes, it was against the Panthers. This offense could not have been stopped. I don't think it would have been stopped by anyone. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tom Brady, the list goes on. Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski. It's just such a good offense. And I said this a couple weeks ago, the Buccaneers are the scariest team in the NFL because, just all of that talent on the offense, along with the top 3 defense, like, what are you going to do? So, if this team keeps playing at an elite level, I expect them to be competing with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I like the Buccaneers here at number 4. At number 3, and, the biggest competitors for the Buccaneers in the NFC are the New Orleans Saints, who move up 1 spot here after a, good win over the 49ers. I was expecting, maybe a little bit of a closer game, and then the 49ers kind of jumped out at the start there. I was a little scared for the Saints, but they bounced back. Unfortunately, Drew Brees, we got some bad news about his ribs. He cracked multiple of them, had a collapsed lung. Never a good thing. He's going to be out, and Jameis Winston is replacing him. I don't think it's going to be a good thing for the Saints, but we'll see. It's definitely something to be watching out for. I think he provides an upside to this offense that we hadn't seen before with Drew Brees, but he also provides a downside that we haven't seen before with Drew Brees. So it'll be interesting to watch. Definitely something to keep an eye on, but defense has really picked things up. This offense has looked good. So I like the Saints here at number 3. At number 2, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers moving up 1 spot. And there you go, Steelers fans. You finally got your wish. You finally are a top 2 team on the Hard Counts power rankings because the Ravens stink. So, yeah. The Steelers are here at number 2. Big win over the Bengals. I thought that they were maybe going to not overlook the Bengals. Just they played at their level of competition. They didn't do that. They were all over Joe Burrow. Big Ben was able to get things going all around the field. I do think their ceiling is a little bit limited with Ben Roethlisberger, but they've got a ton of guys on offense. They can get things done. My one concern with the Steelers is when you need that big play, can they get it? Because they got a bunch of guys that can, underneath. That's what they do best. But we just saw it with the 49ers last year, so I'm not too concerned. But when you got to play the Chiefs in the AFC, you got to be able to get those big plays. So we'll see. I still think the Steelers are very good. We'll see. I don't know if they can compete with the Chiefs, but I don't think anyone can compete with the Chiefs. Let's be honest. They're the best team in the NFL. Number 1, the Chiefs. It's not even close. They're so good. Their offense is so good. They're going to obliterate the Raiders this week. They're going to be mad at the Raiders. They're off a bye. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, the Chiefs are at number 1. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, peace.